Hello and welcome to the program. I am Simisola Adigun. As reactions to the Senate saga mounts, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has raised concerns over the petition for the recall of suspended senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan. In a statement signed by its National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Sam Olumekun, INEC acknowledged receiving the petition, which includes 6 bags of documents that are said to contain signatures from more than half of the 474,554 registered voters in the district. However, I pointed out that the petitioners had failed to provide the necessary contact information such as their addresses, phone numbers and email addresses as required under the Commission's regulations and guidelines for Recall 2024. Meanwhile, the embattled senator has submitted a petition against the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, in which she provided details of alleged sexual harassment. The petition, supported by a sworn affidavit, Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan claimed that Akpabio made unsolicited advances and inappropriate suggestions while her husband was nearby. She also accused Akpabio of abusing his office to undermine her role in national projects. Also, the Intellectual Progressives movement has condemned in strong terms the conduct of Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, saying the petition for her recall sent to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) is within the right of the petitioners. While the convener of the group, Mahmoud Abubakar, says the embattled senator acted in violation of Senate standing rules, a move which warrants her suspension. He also described the petition for her recall from the Senate as necessary and justified. Well, let's hear from Mahmoud himself. He joins us from Abuja. Thank you for coming on the program, Mahmoud. Now, despite a restraining court order, the Senate went ahead with suspending Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, citing a breach of its standing orders. The move has been criticized by the Nigerian Bar Association, opposition parties and various lawyers who argue that the suspension was hasty and unfair. But your group doesn't share that thought.
Thank you very much. To me, the suspension is in line with the code of conduct of the National Assembly. A lot of people are just saying it from the perspective that because Senator Natasha accused the Senate President of sexual harassment, that was the reason why she was suspended or other things. But I didn't see it from that view. Senator Natasha is not the first person to be suspended in the Senate on the same violation of the standing rule of the Senate of the National Assembly. So we have had a case of being suspended. We have had a case of Senator Ningi being suspended. Ovioma gave standing rule. Natasha sworn by that handbook. She know the rules in the code of conduct of the National Assembly. So if she violates the standing rule and she was asked to appear before even the suspension has been announced. So I don't think the Senate whether the Senate acts hastily or not. That is my own view. They act according to the code of conduct and according to the standing rule of the National Assembly.
This petition submitted to INEC by Natasha's constituent, although it has been faulted, it marks a significant attempt to remove her from office. Do you actually believe that there are enough grounds for her to be recalled?
I think the issue of removing Senator Natasha or not removing Senator Natasha, we all know that nobody in the National Assembly that can remove Natasha because she was duly elected by her own people from her constituency, even though she got a verdict from the court of law, which returned her as a senator. And but yes, it is the duty of her constituent people to recall her if they deem it fit that they are no more comfortable with her representation. So I don't think the Senate or National Assembly is involved in anything that have to do with her removal. It's for her to go back to her house, put her constituency in order, and make sure that the recall process didn't go through. Because we had that today, like today, her constituency pulled more than 250,000 signatories have submitted their petition and recall to the INEC. So if that is happening, let Senator Natasha check herself and go back to her constituency to put things in order. But nobody in National Assembly, not even the Senate President, not even the President of Federal Republic of Nigeria can just remove her because she's duly elected.
Let's now go back to when this whole issue began. Senator Uduaghan's reassignment to another seat in the Senate, where she argued that it was an attempt to silence her, followed by her sexual harassment allegations against the Senate President, that's Godswill Akpabio. You don't think that a thorough investigation into these allegations would have at least prevented this whole drama that has erupted now?
Nobody is disputing the fact that she deserves to be listened to. But the question is that Senator Natasha knows the procedure. Senator Natasha didn't submit her petition of sexual harassment directly to the Senate, which she knows she can do. Not until after she have taken it to the public, social media and everywhere, until when they started talking that that no formal petition, no formal reports, no formal complaint was given to the Senate. That was when she now deemed it fit that she should submit the petition. I didn't mean she submitted the petition initially. She submitted it as when she's supposed to do it. I'm very sure the Senate will have welcomed it, and the Committee on Ethics will have looked into it and follow it appropriately. But the petition was submitted after the public outcry, after the social media outburst, which we see as an embarrassment to the institution itself. We are not respecting any senator, but we are respecting the institution itself. So Senator Natasha could have submitted her petition to the Senate, a sexual harassment petition to the Senate for their investigation. That is failure for them to listen to it, failure for them to act on it before she could have gone on the public outburst for the whole Nigerians to intervene or come into her aid. But she didn't do that. She went to the public first before coming back to the Senate. So I think the Senate should not be blamed. Rather, we should blame Senator Natasha for not taking the proper channel, for not have submitted her petition to the Senate before the public outburst.
Now, the senator has been suspended for 6 months as approved by the Senate. And wouldn't it be fair that she completes her suspension period and returns to the Senate? I mean, can that option be considered at least?
But they have given Senator Natasha option of apologizing for disobeying the standing rule of the Senate. Just a written apology will lift the suspension on her even before the 6 months. So Senator Natasha knows that she can apologize. Nobody is saying that she should not take up a sexual harassment case, but she should apologize for going against the standing rule of the Senate. After then, her suspension will be lifted and she will come back to the Senate. So the options are there for her. I believe she's just the stubborn one here that don't want to apologize or listen or put in a written apology so that the Senate will consider lifting her suspension. So let us just go ahead and write a written apology to the Senate. And believe you me, I know the suspension will be lifted as stated.
Finally, this is something that quite a number of people have argued about, especially women in the public space, who say the odds are against Senator Akpoti Uduaghan because she's female. How would this have turned out differently if it were a man involved?
I don't think even her fellow women supported her actions. And it's not a matter of man to man supporting man or what. What the senators are saying is that You know the procedure. Submit your, I didn't mean you didn't go publicly to go and embarrass the entire institution. You could have submitted your petition to the Senate. Your sexual harassment petition, you could have submitted to the Senate for them to take action. But you went publicly, public outburst, social outburst, outburst, which is more or less an international embarrassment to us. So even her fellow women, let's even have the few women that are her fellow women to support her in the Senate. I don't think there is any of the women that even supported her actions. So I think it's not a matter of man to man or anything. Even it could have, if it should be another man, if it should be a man case, even if the man didn't follow the same procedure, the same thing that happened to Natasha will still happen. The Senate have its own standing rules, which Senator Natasha and every other senator is aware of, have read about, understand, sworn to oblige to. So you cannot, because of one thing or the other, go against the standing rule and expect everybody to support you. Even her fellow women didn't support her in the Senate. So I don't think it's a matter of man to man. It's a matter of institution.
Mahmoud Abubakar, convener, Intellectual Progressives Movement, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts on the program. Well, we'll take a short break here, and when we return, the conversation will continue. Do stay with us. Welcome back. We're still discussing the Natasha Akpabio saga, and joining me to discuss further is Wemimo Adewuni, a women's rights activist and member of Manifesto, a gender rights and equality group. Thank you, Wemimo, for joining us. Now, let me start by getting your thoughts on this very controversial matter that has been a major topic of discussion in the country. Are you convinced that Senator Natasha Akpabio be recalled?
Be recalled? I do not see a reason for her recall. What we have seen is a dire reason for investigation into an allegation of sexual harassment. I do not see a reason for her recall. Those who are clamoring for the recall, and as you know, INEC came out and said that they needed to verify as due process is taken, the signatures, addresses, and all the other details of the purported members of a constituency who are calling for a recall. This is Nigeria, and so we understand the political background and innuendos around this recall. It's borderline irritating that this recall is also championed by some people who are women and who are obviously political stooges of certain power holders. One of them is clearly a special advisor directly working with government in Kogi State. So Nigerians understand. I mean, social media is there. You can get a feel of what Nigerians think about the situation. It's unfortunate that power is wielded so recklessly by political office holders instead of laying themselves down for accountability. They would rather break every glass possible. I mean, it's a ridiculous shamble. There is no reason for her recall. What there is a need for is her protection and an insistence that justice is served.
Right, so a recent reveal has shown that 106,000 votes were cast back in the February 2023 general election, which had elected her into the Senate. However, a whopping 250,000 allegedly signed, a whopping 250,000 people allegedly signed the petition to have the senator recalled. Do these contrasting figures surprise you at all?
Barely anything surprises me when it comes to politics in Nigeria. And if anyone is surprised, then it must be they've not been in Nigeria for so long. I mean, we also saw videos during the purported recall of people who said they had been tricked to come to that venue. They had been told they were coming for some economic empowerment. I mean, over 133 million Nigerians are in multi-dimensional poverty. Politicians know how to use this poverty tool to their own advantage. Just tell people that You have a project that would boost their businesses with 5,000 or 10,000, or even give them food, because food is now luxury, and people would put out. People said at that venue that they were tricked into that venue and they didn't know why they were there. We also saw videos that show, if confirmed, some people filling out documents in a room. I mean, these are unfortunate realities of our political system in Nigeria. Senator Natasha was a famous and popular candidate in Kogi State. The facts say so. History says so. Everyone who has followed politics says so. She won that seat. We all watched it. I'm not from Kogi State. I'm just a Nigerian who is interested in justice and fairness. We all watched as the people of Kogi State stood by her, even when Yahaya Bello tore up the road to her constituency. When a lot of things happened during her election, she went through all the stages of court, and 6 months after her colleagues had been in the Senate, she finally got into the Senate. So if numbers are being cooked up, it is sad. It is embarrassing, but unfortunately, embarrassment is no longer a thing for politicians in Nigeria.
Now, I'm sure you must have seen the altercation between the senator representing Ebonyi North Senatorial District, Onyekachi Onwaibonyi, and the former Minister of Education, Obi Ezekwesili, during a Senate hearing on this matter. And the former minister then went on to say that it is an example of what women go through in the Senate.
Oh, but that's the reality. That's the reality. Senator Onwaibonyi's outburst, not just himself, the other senators here on that panel, and the premeditation of their speeches, approaches, responses, actions, and reactions. For every smart Nigerian, they had their game laid out as to what they were going to do at the so-called hearing, because there was no hearing. They had already concluded that they would not sit on the case. And I just wonder why they wasted everybody's time. They knew they were going to dismiss the case and close the case because, according to Senator Kwabio's lawyer, Barrister Obani, the case is in court. What case is in court? Senator Kwabio's wife had taken Senator Natasha to court for alleging sexual harassment against her husband. Again, embarrassment is thrown out of the door in Nigeria. So the premeditation of their actions, of their speeches, was clear for all to see. The words of Senator Onwaibonyi, both during the hearing and afterwards in media interviews, which I have watched with painstaking sadness at the cruelty and the boldness, the audacity with which this man continues to lash out at not just Senator Natasha, but as women, going as far as saying that does she think she's the most beautiful woman in Nigeria? We hear this all the time when harassment cases come up. Men who are abusers, who would usually say to you, I mean, I'm telling you I like you. Do you think you're the finest person? This is a trick. These are words popularly used by narcissists and abusers. So are we surprised? Not really, but are we worried? Desperately, because the Senate is laying a terrible, terrible precedent for abusers to get away with sexual harassment, especially because sexual harassment is a bit more difficult to prove than sexual assault. Remember that harassment could be in words and in action. I mean, if in your office you're walking by and someone spanks you on the bum, have you proved that? If someone continuously sexualizes you with their words, how do you prove that? You work in a media house. Women work in different companies across the country, and they face different kinds of harassment. Men also face harassment. And we know that when you complain about harassment, when you're asked to prove it, am I supposed to walk around with cameras? Am I supposed to have a body cam on me at all times, recording all conversations? When will women truly be free to walk freely and be themselves? If a senator can be harassed, and Senator Onwaibonyi also said that a senator cannot be harassed. That's a very stupid take. It's a very stupid take from someone so highly placed as being in the Senate, who represents a whole constituency. It was a very stupid take from him to say that a certain group of women cannot be harassed. That a senator, I mean, it's such a lame and dumb statement to make, in my opinion.
Are you surprised that no female lawmaker, not even one, has shown any kind of support for Senator Natasha since she made these allegations against the Senate President? I mean, not even the case of the seat reassignment in the Red Chamber, which is when all this began.
Well, neither has any man. No man has stood up for her. So, I mean, there are, aside Senator Natasha, there are 4 other women in the House. So, and there are against, out of 109, no man has stood up for her. So it's not just the women. And this shows you that there's something terribly wrong with the Senate, which is now activated as a cult of sorts. I am worried about the power tussle and the power movement in the Senate, the cult-like approach to ensuring that allegations are covered up. And unfortunately, it's now even clear that there are no mechanisms to seek redress for sexual assault because, I mean, Senator Wabonyi said that no senator can be harassed. So they do not expect that a woman can be harassed. And therefore, there are no clear procedures as to how to report sexual harassment. Some of the women in the Senate have had harassment. We've all been here. The current First Lady, former Senator Oluwemi Tinubu, was sexually harassed live in the Senate by Dido Melaye. We all saw it. What happened? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. We've had cases against Senator Akpabio. There have been several allegations of sexual harassment. Recently, former Vice President Atiku also said the same. So the problem is that there is a court-like approach to dealing with issues in the Senate, and a gruesome cover-up of these sort of allegations threatens the very fiber of women's rights that we very, very much clamor for.
So among her many responses in the matter, Senator Natasha has accused various actors of bias, the Senate President, the lawmakers, and even INEC, which she said is helping those behind her recall request. How do you think that things would have turned out differently if a man had made these accusations that came from Senator Natasha Uduaghan?
Well, remember the person to ask is, will men in Nigeria, is it possible that a man would raise an allegation of sexual harassment in our culture as it is, in our society as it is, a society that does not even know what sexual harassment is, a society that would laugh you to scorn and ask you if you're the finest person on earth if you lay an allegation of sexual harassment. Like I mentioned earlier, for men, it's even a bigger battle because people will tell you, if a woman sexually harasses you as a man, what are you complaining about? Take the opportunity. It's an opportunity. Not every man wants sexual advances to be made passed at them. We've heard a lot of Nigerians say, oh, well, it's a man's duty to make sexual advances towards a woman. No, you don't have a right to consistently barge me with your opinion of my beauty or of my sexuality. You don't have a right to. And if I'm uncomfortable with it and I tell you that I don't want it any longer, you must stop. If you now take this over into our workspace and it begins to affect our work relationship, my deliverables, then there is a big problem. If this had happened to a man, if we turn the tables, absolutely I tell you that the reactions would not be the same. Men have, especially men in the Senate, have built it, like I said earlier, a cult-like followership for themselves. You will see them rally around one another. You will see them, we saw it at the hearing. They all banded together. They all came together. You know, they all stood up for one another. Look at them fighting for the Senate President. They were not with the Senate President and Senator Natasha at any of those instances. They were not there, but they're taking bold moves to put their necks on the line for the Senate President. It's a very painful scenario, not just for Senator Natasha, but for the young girls and women in different offices across Nigeria, schools, hospitals, and so many other places, facing harassment, and who know that because of this instance, their abusers will also get away with harassment.
Wemimo Adewuni, women's rights activist and member of Manifesto, we do appreciate your time on the program. Thank you very much. But that's all on this episode. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.